What's going on, guys? It is Pride33 here, and today I kind of want to talk about a weapon that's gone under the radar and a build that I've created for this weapon that actually make it really good, and that is the Skyburners Oath. So I've always loved solar builds for Warlocks, and I feel like the Skyburners Oath actually ties in incredibly well with the Solar Warlock. So real quick, I want to talk about its two firing modes because they have been changed recently, and I don't think anybody is really talking about them. Um, so first of all, it's Slugfire. This is a fire shot. It basically fires explosive balls. They hit the ground and explode into just scorch damage. So you scorch multiple targets. It does the same amount of damage initially as a normal scout rifle shot, and then after that, it's going to continuously scorch targets. So this is actually kind of a good way to deal with ads. You just lob it into a group of ads, and you're going to burn all of them. But then something that I don't think anyone really knows about this weapon is its aim down sight shot. So not only does it actually pierce Cabal shields, but it has intrinsic explosive payload, which is a perk that most people can agree is one of the best things you can have in in-game content because it gives it infinite range. And I don't see anybody talking about that. Now, real quick, I do want to touch on the build that I am using for this weapon. I'm going to go into a bit more detail about that later. But I'm using Ember of Torches, or I'm sorry, Ember of Searing to create fire sprites and give me melee energy, and I'm pairing that with Heat Rises to get even more melee energy. And then I'm using Ember of Mercy to give myself restoration from those fire sprites, Ember of Emberion to extend the duration of my restoration effects, and Ember of Solstice to double the duration of all my restoration effects. So as you can see, I'm a very restoration heavy build, and Ember of Searing here is going to be used very frequently. This is the most fire sprites you will ever be able to generate because of this weapon and Ember of Searing. Real quick to touch on the mods, I'm using this loadout. That way every time I get a double kill, I get myself a cure effect. So now I get restoration effects and cure effects from getting kills with my weapons. I'm getting, extra damage by picking up those orbs of power, extra super energy, and extra super energy here as well. Impact induction, obviously, because I'm generating so much melee energy. This just gives me more grenade energy. I think you can see where I was going with this build. And if you want a full breakdown of this build, I can make a video about that later. But to just show off what this weapon is capable of real quick, I'm going to go ahead and spam that. And look at that. I've already almost got my melee back. And it's back. I think if you were to pair this with like the Sunbracers, you could probably do insane amounts of damage. But as you can see, just the melee attack alone, I'm able to get it back incredibly quickly, right? And then I'm generating so many fire sprites that I always have a restoration effect active game. Now, to show off the explosive payload, as you can see, there were two number values. There is the regular shot, and then there is the explosive damage. And it functions the same way as explosive damage, so you can see it always does that, whether I get a crit or a body shot, it's going to do the same amount of damage. And I think that that is honestly something that nobody's talking about with this weapon, is that it has explosive rounds. But as you can also see, it's really good at triggering ignitions. So most of the solar abilities in the game, when you try to trigger an ignition, there's not quite enough Scorch to kill it. But this weapon actually gives you the Scorch necessary to trigger that, ignition. Whether it just be a couple of points extra that trigger it, it's going to trigger the ignition almost every time on large targets. Try to do that again. And as you can see, I'm triggering ignitions almost every single time. This is really good at dealing with champions as well. But I just kind of wanted to show that off because this weapon really, I think, is being underused right now in the game. I mean, seriously, this weapon I would say is probably, at least for my build, this is the best weapon in the game. Its ability to generate fire sprites is insane, and its ability to generate melee energy is insane. I mean, the amount of ability energy that I am generating because of this weapon is incredible. Its ability to keep you alive because of, Ember of Mercy, the amount of fire sprites and orbs of power you get, combined with the healing effects you can apply to those. I mean, this weapon is honestly kind of insane. I've taken this weapon into Grandmaster Nightfalls, Master Dungeons, and this build right here has kept me alive longer than anyone in my fire team. Um, I really do think this is a powerful build, and I think you guys should really give the Skyburners Oath a try. I think this weapon is severely underused right now. Anyway, this has been Pride 33, and I will catch you next time.